I don't know.
They eventually fixed it with a patch.
What, EA?
No, I mean Crash.
Crash Bandicoot? I don't know, man. Here's the thing. I always felt, for me, Crash Bandicoot back in the day, Crash Team Racing was always kind of like, it was basically like budget Diddy Kong Racing for me. It was like, I go to my friend, because basically I had one of those friends who essentially like was always a Sega fanboy, and then when Sega started to fail during the 5th gen, they jumped onto the PlayStation. So when Crash Team Racing came out, like I'd go to their, because I mean, really, like during the 5th gen, like the N64 was the kart racing console, basically. Like it had so many kart racing games on that system, or kart racing like games in this. Even if you weren't racing karts, you were racing some shit in an arcadey type manner. You know what I mean? Like you had Snowboard Kids 1 and 2. You had Beetle Adventure Racing. You had Hydro Thunder. You had Mario Kart 64. You had Diddy Kong Racing. You had Extreme G1, Extreme G2. You had Lego Racing. You had I know there's more than that. I'm blanking because there was just so damn many racing games for the N64, especially like arcadey style. Oh, Cruisin' USA, Cruisin' Exotica. I mean, you know what I mean? Just a lot.
I was about to say, in the pod racers.
Yeah, pod racing. You had, pod racing. I mean, you just had a lot of racing games with that system. So for me, like, I go to my friend's house and I play Crash Team Racing. I'm like, yeah. You know, no, go ahead.
I enjoyed Crash Team Racing, so I only had a couple days with it, so I didn't really spend a huge amount of time with it.
I mean,
I never got to try out Crash Team Racing because I never owned a PS1.
Well, I mean, it's not a bad game. It's just it kind of felt like the bootleg Diddy Kong Racing. For me, because I had Diddy Kong Racing, and I'm like, okay, I'm racing in an overworld, which is not an unfair assertion. Because you have to remember, Crash Bandicoot was made to compete against Donkey Kong, so it's kind of fitting that when Diddy Kong has a racing game, that they would come out with their own racing game to compete against, Donkey Kong, Kong's nephew or cousin or whoever, sidekick. So I mean, I'm just saying, it's just kind of. But apparently the game is kind of like.
I mean, the game was originally made to kill off the Crash Bandicoot IP, according to Naughty Dog.
Well, I mean the re-release. The re-release is kind of trash, is what I've heard. Like it has a lot of content, but the actual gameplay sucks.
Yeah, I haven't looked up too many reviews, but I did see one headline say that Crash Team Racing is disappointing.
Well, I looked up on YouTube channels, and they don't seem to hate it. They just seem to be bothered by the online multiplayer, which because of the glitches and errors that are happening there, but they happened to fix it on the patch recently.
Oh, really? Well, I mean, like, for me, Activision's re-releases of all these old PlayStation IPs that people used to think they were actually second-party games, not PlayStation first-party games, but they were sold, like the rights were sold to Activision. Like, to me, it's been kind of hit or miss. Like the Crash Bandicoot trilogy kind of sucked in terms of being a port, and this port has been like the game is ported over and it looks good, but it's like even if they patched it later, like a game shouldn't be in the state that it was. You know what I mean?
The problem with I played the reboot of those games. Like I played the physics just seem off because I went back and played the old ones. I was like, the physics felt a little more on point. Probably because I played those games a million times as a kid. Now now with the new one, I feel that the physics are felt off, and everybody just gave the game a pass.
You sound.
Oh, it's like
The way you sound about the reboot is how I feel about Donkey Kong Country Returns.
yeah, because I'm just like, well, no, because they're like, oh, this game is so hard, and it's like the Dark Souls of platformers and all that other nonsense.
I'm like,
I'm just like, no, but they kind of did a piss poor job reimagining the physics of the old games. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's basically what I feel. It's like, because I mean, those games were made in an old school style, and a lot of people can't do that. But we kind of completely glossed over everyone introducing themselves because fuck it. So we'll let the lady go first, and then Kenoshi, and then Pinky can go last because we always do ladies first, and Kenoshi hasn't been here for a while, so it's only fair. Go ahead.
We had a lot to talk about already, and we barely even begun.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, this is the BS Busters End of the Week podcast. I am Joe Ryder, Eli Moonstar, and oh gods, again EA.
Yeah, Kenoshi.
It's Kenoshi Abominito. Glad to be here on another one of these BS Busters, and yeah, that's about it.
And this is Biggie Dog from Biggie Facts. I had to apologize for my absence from last podcast because my computer broke. So I had to either fix it or get a new one. And luckily I have another older CPU in my disposal that I'm using right now.
That's good. And of course it's me, Mr. Red Fox, owner proprietor of BS Busters, and you guys know me. You know me. So now we're going to talk about some stuff. Basically, I mean, when I saw what EA said over in the UK, I had to put this in here. I even made a video talking about the shit, but it had to be said now. So, so
how are we gonna shovel this
So
one?
basically, here's what they said. Here's what they essentially said. Okay, it boils down to this. Basically, at the UK, they were grilled about their loot boxes and microtransactions. Now, microtransactions aren't gambling. You're basically buying a non-physical thing that you're not even buying it. You're giving them money on the off chance for something that has no physical presence to augment your gameplay experience. And that's bad.
I'm gonna be so sass about this, but excuse me, Red Fox.
I mean,
but don't you mean surprise mechanics?
Well, I mean, no, because microtransactions within of themselves, like microtransactions is like, okay, let's say you're playing Fire Emblem Heroes and you want more summoning orbs and you spend like $1 to get 99 summoning orbs. That's a microtransaction. Nothing wrong with that. 99 $1, 99 summoning orbs. Ooh, congratulations, microtransactions. The problem with EA is that they're also doing a form of gambling because basically you're also spending money for these loot boxes, which give you Vegas odds on getting what you want. So essentially, they said that their loot boxes are akin to a Kinder Egg and a surprise mechanic. The reason this is stupid is because Kinder Eggs were banned in the UK, the US, and Canada because kids were biting. Little kids were biting choking. Yeah, like kids, like literally kids died, and then Kinder had to go back and rebrand, like rejigger how they manufactured their toys and have warnings.
So you have
packaged them.
Can't even have toy.
Yeah, it was
right.
And here at the end of the day, I mean, even though these kids were choking and some of them died, it was still a physical object that the kid had, Whereas, like if you're someone who bought like some $300 into Star Wars Battlefront's microtransactions and loot boxes, once the servers are off, none of that shit is yours.
I was about to say, the moment the server shuts down, the only thing you got left is a coaster.
I mean, it's kind of...
At least that's what I think.
No, you don't even have the coaster because technically speaking, a lot of these games, the disc is just like the disc is literally just a thing that tells the download server that you bought the game. It doesn't mean anything. So the disc is already pretty much worthless as soon as you buy the game. So yeah. So I just explained the thing. What are your guys' thoughts on EA trying to tap dance around fucking people over?
I say that it's pretty much
Go ahead. I'm trying to laugh.
pretty much their way of trying to get past the loot box / microtransaction bans from overseas.
Yeah, I mean, and how they try to talk about it. It's like someone who's strong arm robs people. Doesn't say I strong arm rob people. They're like, well, I liberate goods from more fortunate individuals. You know, it's like, no, motherfucker, you steal shit. You know,
it's like oil companies trying to rename fossil fuels as gases of freedom or something.
Yeah, they're hydrofluorocarbons.
Yes.
Like, I don't care what you call the shit, man.
Finally got that out of my system before I laughed too hard that I needed to mute myself.
But yeah, it's
okay.
It's kind of ridiculous. I find myself. No, but go ahead, Kenoshi. You wanted to say something?
Well, it's just what a lot of these companies do. They just create these scenarios where they.
Do you know why my TV's not working and stuff?
I think we got an interruption.
Yeah, that's okay. People got stuff to do. Well, I mean, I guess I can kind of talk about it a little bit. I think it's a load of horseshit, personally. I'm personally kind of tired of. I'm tired of people screwing. Like, can't you make your business without screwing people over?
Yes, and especially and this is going to be directly at EA and the EA brand. So pardon me for this. What the holy fuck are you thinking about, you idiotic, moronic peons?
Well, they think people are dumb. Yeah.
We all know, for heaven and hell, that what you are selling are nearly illegal products that have so low odds that you might as well be selling WoW tokens.
Yeah, basically.
And if anything, all that money that you are spending in order to defend your sorry asses for surprise mechanics and Kinder Egg for digital products and a $60 game that you keep on releasing yearly more often than hookers, you got some serious fucking balls to say such bullshit.
Of steel.
Even Red Fox could probably cut through it with a chainsaw and not get through every bit of it.
Yeah, and they are balls of steel, by the way. Just wanted to say that.
So excuse me, but I'd rather have a shark kissing my rear end than any game that features your FIFA Ultimate Team or NFL Ultimate Team anywhere in my entire neighborhood.
First, well said. So basically, yeah. I mean, at this point, I just we'll wait for Kenosha to get back. At this point, I'm just like, I can't. And gamers just continue to deal with it. They just keep on rolling with it. I'm like, well, can't you people just not roll with it? No.
Can people stop buying BS?
That's the reality. That, like, even though they're, it doesn't really matter what they say. People are still just gonna keep buying into the stuff anyway.
Yeah, and then you have people making excuses. They're like, well, the sports license can't exist without these people doing without these people making. No, I'm like, look, it's like Disney. It's like Disney's license with Star Wars, right? They don't care. Disney doesn't care as long as they get their money. All right. And it's hilarious that they basically used Kinder eggs as an example because, I mean, really, if you really think about it, like the Kinder egg people didn't go out of business. They still make Kinder eggs. They had to rejigger. They had to go back and regroup how they made their stuff, and then it was okay. Like that's all EA has to do. Just stop making your money off of fucking people over. It's really easy, you know. Like, look, I don't care. And here's the thing, like, but here's the dirty little secret about EA. They always like these video game companies always like to say games are more expensive to make. Games are more expensive to make. The overhead for EA has actually gotten cheaper for them to make their games. All right.
I was going to say, it's gotten cheaper to make certain games over the past years.
No, I mean, for EA, it's cheaper for them to make their games because they've closed a lot of studios. The studios that they do have are smaller and leaner, and they're all using basically the same engine. Like, most of the games aren't, like, different engines being rejiggered. It's just the same thing done over and over again. So why in the world do they keep on doing that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm kind of weirded out by the whole experience where they're always like, well, you know, it's, you know, it's just kind of weird, you know?
It's a business that, sure, we know it's a business. Businesses need to make green.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I'm
if
not
you're
gonna
making
begrudge
green
it.
if you're making green off of your own selfish needs and are making people suffer from it,
We got
you
a
got
problem.
some morals.
Yeah. To quote what's his name from to quote Denzel Washington from Training Day, then N-word, we have a problem. You know, I have a problem. I have a problem with them screwing people over. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't like people screwing me over. And I know a lot of people, it doesn't bother them because they're like, well, I don't use the microtransactions or whatever. But I mean, like,
You still are supporting BS. I'm sorry, but you are supporting people.
Well, remember that thing from a few years ago where this kid was like, he spent like $1,500 on microtransactions for Ultimate Team for like FIFA?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and here's the thing. Look, I understand people like, well, I don't want, like, that kid should have known better. But here's the thing, okay? Like, yes, the kid should have known better, but here's the thing, okay? It's a kid. I mean, like, and what people don't understand is that children do not have the mentality to deal with shit like adults do. All right? And here's the thing.
They don't have their
like, you can't even that argument is kind of bullshit because they're adults who are fucking addicted to this shit. So, you know, a kid who doesn't really have the equipment to really deal with it.
mental fortitude.
They're really, yeah. You know, if adults can't deal with this shit and are addicted to it, then you know kids are going to be addicted to the shit. You know what I mean?
Yes. And that's a sad thing because that just leads to more Vegas kids that, as I call them, you know, kids are so into gambling that they could burn hundreds and thousands of dollars of house mortgage, in a sense, on games of chance, lottery, and more.
No one ever rolls with that. They're always like, well, you see, it doesn't count because of some bullshit reason. People love to make that argument, is what I'm saying. And I'm getting tired of it. Like, I'm getting tired of people making the argument that, well,
I was going to say, casinos are better than this because they, one, have actual people that know what gambling addiction is, and two, they actually have the restraint to send you out on your beep when you are out of green.
I mean, I'm not going to go that far. I think casinos are just as bad. The only difference between casinos and The only difference between casinos and EA is that casinos, if you win, what you get is physical and you can do something with it. Like I've gambled, I've taken $50 and turned it into $300 and then I quit. But here's the thing, I turned it into $300. I could take that $300 if I wanted to and shove it up my behind. I mean, I wouldn't do that, but I mean, it's like something it has value. What I had value. Oh man, what I mean is that what I had value. But if you look at
what EA gives,
if you look at EA, even if you win something from a loot box, it means nothing. It has no value. You know, like literally, it means nothing. And people don't seem to talk about that. You know, they don't seem to talk about how this shit is just completely useless in the grand scheme of things. Like, so what? You won. You earned Darth Vader in the thing. What does that mean in Star Wars Battlefront 2?
I was about to say that's as good as a participation trophy.
I mean, I don't know anything about soccer because I don't really follow the football, as they call it. I don't follow football. I don't really give a shit about football, really. But I know people who follow football. But I mean, if you get whatever top player for nowadays, if you get that person, what does that mean? What does that matter?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they're going to be a part of your group forever, and especially when the servers are shut down, which I can imagine is pretty quickly, considering how many beeping titles they print out every single decade. I mean, it's a beeping yearly franchise at this point. I wonder how long until the next quote unquote major update so we could see the new improvements to the game series. Which is likely gonna.
It just seems kind of weird to me, and personally, I'm getting tired of. I'm getting really tired of. I'm getting really tired of EA fucking people over in order for them to make money. Because I mean, I like money too, but I mean, I'm not fucking people over for it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you're not dastardly whiplash greedy, are you?
I mean, look, okay, I own a business, okay? And, everything I do in my business more often than not is to make money, but I'm not there's been times where people have been working, have come in and they've been getting drunk, and I'm like, look, man, you got to go. So that's it. I'm just saying. Anyone have anything they want to add before we wrap things up?
I just don't see anything changing.
I do have. Do you want to say something else regarding EA? Do they still own NBA 2K?
You mean NBA? They still have to share the license with
2K?
With 2K, yeah. I mean, that's why. Why do you think that 1 year the NBA Live came out and it was just an absolute and total mess? Because here's the thing: when there's competition, EA gets its ass kicked because they can't compete. Like when 2K had their NFL game and EA had Madden, there was competition. They actually had to compete and make good shit. It's not like that anymore.
Which is the sad thing.
Yeah, because I would love to play a football game. I mean, I'm not really heavily into football, but every once in a while you want to play a football game and not have it be Madden. Because Madden is just, it's not good anymore.
They compromise mostly everything they have.
Well, it's got ultimate teams and loot boxes, and like they don't really make any real changes to the formula. It's just the same shit over and over and over again. I mean, I can't deal with it. It's too much.
I was just asking because I wanted to bring up the news about NBA 2K 2019 having unskippable ads before the game starts. You know,
Yeah.
when they logos.
Yeah, 2K is just as bad. So, anyone have anything to say about 2K doing this?
Nah.
I mean, they're greedy bastards. I mean, these are the same people who did that exclusivity deal with the Epic Gaming Store for a game that was going to sell well anyway, no matter what it was on.
Yeah.
You know, like I can understand selling out. Like, okay, if you're an indie and you have to compete against, you know, big, huge games coming to your thing, I can understand you saying, okay, we need to make sure this shit hits this, that, and the other. But a game is going to be on a lot of stuff. I'm like, why? I mean, are you that greedy for money? But it's 2K, so yeah, they are that greedy for money.
Yeah. So they're exclusively putting one of their sports games on EA or
Well, no, I mean Borderlands 3. That's a 2K game.
Yeah.
And for a year, it's exclusive to the Epic Game Store.
Well, you know, part of me's like, you know, that's some bull, but at the same time, part of me's like, well, people wanted some competition in the gamer store market.
Yeah, but this isn't competition. It's not like their game store is better than Steam or comparable to Steam. It's like literally their game store. They're just buying exclusives. That's it. I mean, it's because the Epic Game Store sucks. It's ass.
Yeah.
It's.
Yeah, it's
I was
not
about to
good
say,
for us.
it's Hades bad.
It's not as good as. It's not even as good as GOG. And GOG, like basic shit. GOG has basic shit that Epic Game Store is missing, like a card.
I think it might even be slightly worse than Origin.
I don't even use Origin. Like the only reason I have Origin on my thing is because EA gave me a whole bunch of free games, and I think I got Dragon Age Inquisition on PC, and you can't play it without Origin on your PC. So it's like, fuck, you know.
That is a middle finger.
Yeah, it is.
Seriously.
It is a middle finger because I fucking hate Origin. But I got a whole bunch of free games, so I can't get that mad. But you know what I'm saying? It's like
I bite the bullet and not take the game than trying to go with trash that will easily
Well, I mean the free games suck.
make it.
But hey man, a free game is a free game. Like if Nintendo said, hey, we're gonna get the original Tetris,
No.
I'll take it.
No. Free games, if anything, free games may be one thing, but even I have standards with free games.
And have you guys forgotten when Nintendo had that thing for the Wii U where if you bought one of those games for the Wii U, you got like 2 games for free?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I did it. I was like, yeah, I supported this damn console when no one else would. I think I deserve the Benny.
I supported it, and I didn't even get that. So
You
F off.
jump on that shit early enough. But anyway.
We got some breaking news.
Oh, what now?
You guys remember You guys remember the fiasco with Etika going missing?
I remember him brandishing guns at people. And
What guy?
Etika,
the guy with the high top
Oh
fade
yeah.
made the fake the fake switch.
Oh yeah, I remember that guy. He was he had some real mental
does
health.
reaction videos on Nintendo Directs.
Yeah.
He's got a few days ago. He's gone missing, and the police are searching for him right now. And they found his personal items found along the Manhattan Bridge.
Oh, might have committed suicide.
That's not good.
Might have jumped off the Manhattan Bridge.
That is not good at all.
It's pretty
bad. That he might have drowned.
Oh, that's not good at all. Oh, that's not good. Oh, that's not good.
I am personally uncomfortable now.
Yeah, I think we need to change this over to something else, because if someone possibly committed suicide, I don't really want to talk about it.
We can move on.
I always thought he was a bit eccentric, but
we can move on to Sega and Microsoft.
Yeah,
what does Sega and Microsoft get into now?
Oh well, no. Sega and Microsoft have actually been doing pretty well.
I was asking what do they get into?
Now, Microsoft's been making some interesting moves.
Yeah, I mean, like,
unlike Google Stadia and some of these other freaking rinky-dink gaming service programs, so they're actually trying to create a sort of Netflix scenario for gaming.
Yeah, although if you have it on PC, it's still not working by and large. So it's still in beta mode though. So you got to work out the kinks, if you will. But yeah, I mean, look, if you want to play, if you want to basically pay $5 a month and have access to eventually potentially thousands of games. I mean, the only reason I got the shit was because I didn't want to pay for I wanted to play the Outer Worlds, and there was no way on God's green earth I was getting the Outer Worlds for I was getting it on the Epic Game Store, because they've like almost stolen my shit multiple times.
Yeah. No, you can always buy it off of a CD key. CD key site, a site that sells CD keys, and just put the key into the launcher. That's what I do most of the time.
No, I mean, man, look, my account for Epic, because like back in the day when Epic just didn't really have a game store, they took the data from one of their games I got for free through Epic, like a long time ago. I think it was Shadow Complex. Like, it said my account is in Malaysia. All right, like clearly someone hacked in. I remember like a few months before they opened up their game store, they kept on sending me things saying, "We need your information to fix your account." I'm like, yeah, but I mean, like, we need financial information. I'm like, that seems kind of weird to me. And now I know why, because someone was trying to hack my account. Good thing I didn't answer any of that shit. But you get what I'm saying? It's like, but here's the thing. Like, my problem is that they have money to basically buy all the exclusives, but they can't fix their shitty game store.
Well, the thing that baffles me, not only the fact that the security issues, that's definitely an issue, but they don't have a cart. That's like the most baffling thing.
Basic shit
of basic things in a storefront website, a cart.
Yeah, basic shit they don't have on the Epic Game Store, but they have money to buy all these exclusives. And that's my problem. It shows where their priorities are. It's on bullshit and not shit that's really, important. And that bothers me. Your guys' thoughts on this bullshit?
Not sure if I can even say a thing.
All right.
What about you, Jacob?
Pinky?
No.
You got nothing about Microsoft's new gaming service? Nothing? No problem.
Nothing at all.
All right.
For me, I'm not sure what to expect with them since they really haven't even made big efforts to improve what they've done already with their Xbox, and well, you can imagine how much of a standard they got going with gamers right now.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the Xbox was an abject failure. I mean, on paper, like, okay, in terms of entering the gaming memory, like
Market.
being a recognizable thing, but the Xbox as a actual console has never been a success. It's never made money. So, I mean, why would you crow about that?
I mean, they couldn't even get a touch. They couldn't even get a taste of coin in a certain nation. What makes you think they can even get lucky in making themselves a big name?
I guess I'm just.
That's why I basically got nothing to say.
I mean, I just don't think that Microsoft ever had the chops to really be in the console industry. And I was really offended when they were like, "We learned everything we know about the console industry from Sega." I'm like, "Well, shit, no wonder you guys can't do shit."
Look how Sega ended up, and this is when they were trying to save their Sega Genesis by adding on and adding on and adding on and adding on and adding on, and then dumping it all for the Saturn, which then got the famous phrase that everybody should know: what happened to the Saturn the moment it wasn't living up to the prospects.
Yeah, Bernie
The Saturn,
Stoller, the Saturn is not our future. Yeah, yeah. Bernie Stoller single-handedly helped tank an entire console.
I think he also made sure that no RPGs came to that console too.
Well, I mean, he basically every time someone tried to bring an RPG over, he would basically cut the budget so it couldn't get made. So,
Yeah,
which
I was
isn't really
trying to be sure
surprising
about.
because I don't know about you, but I never thought of RPGs as being the Sega's strong point.
I was about to say there were some RPGs on the Sega.
Yeah, I know, but like it wasn't like the Sega Genesis. Like, name the most noteworthy RPGs on the Sega Genesis. Shining Force.
Probably the only.
Shining Force is probably the
Shining in Darkness. I know some people would say Crusader of Senti, but that's basically a Zelda clone. So I'm not.
I was going to say the only one that I might remember would be Phantasy Star, but I'm not sure how good that is.
Yeah, Phantasy Star. The first Phantasy Star, I've never considered that to be a good RPG. I know a lot of people like it, but the first one's not that good. The best one in that series really is maybe Phantasy Star 2, Phantasy Star 3 a little bit, maybe Phantasy Star 4. I feel like Phantasy Star 4 is the best one in that series, really. And that's it. Like, Phantasy Star 4 is the best game in that series. So, like, for me, I'm just not impressed by. I'm not.
What's that new Phantasy Star game called that came out a few years ago but never came over to the West because Sega.
Phantasy Star Online, but Phantasy Star Online isn't an RPG. Phantasy Star Online is a
MMO.
MMO.
Yeah, it's basically an MMO. It's like it's basically like Monster Hunter, but you don't really have jumping. You just go. I mean, it's a grinding cycle. You go, you fight monsters, which drop equipment that you take back to make better shit, so that you can grind and level up, so that you can fight stronger monsters. Like that's Phantasy Star Online. It's not an RPG in the classical sense of the term. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying it's not an RPG in the classical sense of, you know, the term of what an RPG is. So, I mean, you know, like when you 16-bit generation, when you think of the top RPGs of the 16-bit generation, none of them were on a Sega system. And I know Sega fanboys are going to get mad when they hear that. They're going to be like, how could you say that? You're just being a dick. But, I mean, think about it. Chrono Trigger wasn't on a Sega console. Final Fantasy V wasn't on a Sega console. Final Fantasy VI wasn't on a Sega console. Final Fantasy IV wasn't on a Sega console. Lufia 1 and 2 weren't on Sega consoles. Like, none of this shit was on a Sega console. So, like, I'm not what you would call, like, oh my God. Like, and I'm an RPG fanboy, so, you know.
Yeah, I mean, two of us on here are fans that love RPG games, even if we got different tastes about them.
So, I mean,
And
I know
both of
some
us
people
could agree that, and we're going to both be able to say this confidently, both that Sega and, in a sense, Microsoft are not known for RPGs.
No, they really aren't. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, but Sega's been kicking out the park lately. Like, they released Citizens of Earth. Citizens of Space. Just this week, I've been playing it. They released other things. What else did they release? They released Yakuza Kiwami. They say they're going to release Citizens of Project Justice, which is it's another Yakuza game. And since I'm a Yakuza fanboy, I'm loving it. So Sega's actually pulled their head out of their ass and they're doing some cool shit. I guess this is to make up for that shitty thing that they did with what was it called? What was that?
Big Red Button?
No. This is something they did recently where they just fucked up royally. If I remember correctly, it was what was it called? They were going to. It was that shit that Atlas did, where they were like, Persona S is just a fucking. It's a.
That.
Yeah, it's literally just a.
A mini game of sorts.
No, Persona S is just a Warriors game. And people talk about it because it's just a Warriors game. There's nothing new coming up about it. It's just a Warriors game.
Yeah.
And people were too good.
That's what people just need to wait. And not,
they were too because it wasn't a Switch. It wasn't the promise. It wasn't the Switch port of Persona 5 that was rumored.
Yeah, it wasn't promised. It was rumored. You know, and besides, you are getting a Shin Megami Tensei game for the Switch, so I don't know why these people are whining like little bitches about it. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, like, would I want a spin-off? Would I want a Persona game for the Switch? Yeah, but if they were going to put a Persona game on the Switch, I would rather have a
Persona 4.
I would. Well, I mean, if they did a Persona 3, 4, and 5 like trilogy, that'd be cooler to me than just Persona 5. Because I mean, all three of those games use basically the same engine, so it's not like.
Is the Persona 5 coming to PC? Or is that around too?
Probably. If it comes to PC, then I'm not going to care anyway because I has PC.
Well, only the vanilla version. I hear Persona 5R is going to be PS4 only.
That's some bullshit.
I heard R's not that good. That's what I heard.
But P5R isn't even out yet.
But to be fair, generally speaking, with Atlas, their remakes of their games normally aren't as good as the originals. Like, the remake for Persona 3 wasn't that good. Fez. The remake of Persona 4 Golden wasn't that good. Like, their remakes aren't that good. So I'm not like, oh my god, I'm ruined. I'm like, I mean, I would like it, but I'm not gonna lose my shit if it's not there. You know.
For me, I would say, yeah, you're gonna be kissing dirt for a moment, at the very least for the stunt.
I mean, I wish it were better, but you can't control everything. I know a lot of people are gonna
Yeah,
get angry with that, but you can't control everything. And I
I
mean,
was saying that that it's not. I was saying that they're gonna be kissing the floor for a moment, but if anything, they can get back up from it.
yeah, Nintendo gamers are getting kind of weird lately, where they're starting to get entitled because the Switch is successful. And I'm like, look, have you guys forgotten when Nintendo
Was getting insulted left and right and center.
was getting kicked in the nuts? So don't be all weird now,
Yeah.
I at least give Nintendo gamers something that at least they could laugh that they can endure anything.
I don't even follow the Nintendo gamers, a lot of the Nintendo gamers anymore, just because they're all irrelevant to me.
Yeah, but they're starting to get entitled. Like, this game should come to the Switch. It's like, it would be nice, but I mean, you have to remember, like,
there's some games that didn't. I was going to say that there's some games that shouldn't be going to Nintendo.
Someone like shit for like 20 years, you can't just automatically just start not treating them like shit after a while just because they're now the it thing. You got to get out of that ingrained habit. And it is an ingrained habit with some of these people, okay?
Yeah,
I was going to say that.
I don't care. Whatever. If they want to bring it over, they'll bring it over. If they don't, they don't.
Yeah. I mean, they'll either do it. I mean, to quote Yoda, do or do not, there is no try. They're either going to do it or they're not going to do it, but I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh my God, this game isn't coming to the system. Okay, it didn't come. Shit, get over it. Like, with all the games that are on the Switch, because one game doesn't make it, are you going to really lose your shit? Really?
Well, they will.
Yeah, they will. This game didn't come to my system. I'm going to whine like a little bitch. Because I'm a little bitch. Because that's what they like to do. Whine like little bitches. So we talked about Crash Team Racing. We talked about EA. We talked about Sega. Let's move on to the next stories. Let me.
Since we're talking about people whining about small things, we can continue that talk with another game in regards to Tifa's slight redesign for the Final Fantasy VII remake.
I was about to say, people are still complaining about that?
Yeah, they made her slightly less pervy looking. I mean...
Oh, they made her look more realistic? Isn't that what people want?
They made her slightly less pervy looking. So, I mean, I can't get, I mean, like, personally, like I said, I don't have a dog in the fight because I don't worship at the altar of Final Fantasy VII. So, like, I don't really care either way.
Same.
It's probably because Sony, they couldn't make her tatas too big.
They couldn't make her well endowed.
The funny thing is, Tifa's breast size is still the same as it originally was. It's just that it just squeezed tighter from her new black tank top.
Well, it kind of makes more sense, really, to be honest, for her to she looks right now than
how she looked in the originals.
It still doesn't excuse the fact that the game looks kind of like a mess to me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I hear some people praise the combat system, which is fine. I don't know. I just wish they would have made a choice with the combat system rather than let's try to make it both.
I was about to say, let's make it Kingdom Hearts.
Well, it doesn't feel like Kingdom Hearts to me because there is a bit of turn-based elements when when you're attacking enemies.
Yeah, what I heard is that its combat system is kind of a ripoff of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which isn't surprising when the original Final Fantasy team was pretty much split up between Hironobu Sakaguchi and his cadre, and then the people like he was the idea guy and the lead designer, and then the people under him were the people that when they left Squaresoft were essentially became Monolith Soft. So like basically. Like they stole their ideas from the people who helped make the game in the first place, because they talentless hackers and they don't know how to make good games. They just steal shit from other people. Makes sense. I mean, you know, I don't really care.
And this is supposed to be episodic.
Yeah, it's supposed. Like the thing that bothers me is that it's supposed to be episodic, and I just don't.
I mean, that's on top of all this BS that they put on.
Well, we haven't had a good record of episodic RPGs from Squaresoft, because have people forgotten?
Oh yeah, the Life is Strange games. Those were episodic.
Well, that wasn't an RPG. That was an adventure game.
Yeah, like the last episodic game I remember. Right. The last episodic game I remember from Square Enix. That they came out with was the piece of shit, if I remember correctly, called Final Fantasy IV: The After Years.
Yeah.
And that was a turd. So, you know, like I don't trust episodic RPGs. Like the only episodic RPG that I've seen that kind of works, and when I say kinda, I mean like kind of works, is the Penny Arcade games, but each of those games is its own thing. They're just called Episode 1, Episode 2, Episode 3, but each one is its own game. There's an overarching story that's continued throughout the entire game, but each game is its own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, I you know, not the and here's the really big thing. Square Enix has not really been knocking it out the park with their RPGs for the last few years.
Yeah.
So I'm not really like, man, this RPG is going to be great. I'm like, this is probably going to be fucked up. But
I am Setsuna. Looks like a turd.
Yeah, it is a turd.
What was that other game that came out?
Lost Sphere.
Lost Sphere, turd.
Yeah. I am Setsuna. I am like here's the problem with that studio. They keep on trying to bring everything back to Chrono Trigger, but I'm like, Chrono Trigger was lightning in a bottle, because no game made by Square Enix could come close to approaching how good Chrono Trigger was.
That's a lottery ticket jackpot kind of fortune, right?
I mean, even Chrono Cross, which was made by the same team, had everything is still not as good as Chrono Trigger.
Oh, that game was bad.
And personally, I'm offended by Chrono Cross. I'm like, this shit is what you call the sequel to one of the greatest RPGs ever made? Like, I'm literally like offended by Chrono Cross. Like, I get mad every time I see that game. I'm just like, man, fuck this game.
You throw down.
I was about to say, you get a 9 every time you see it.
You threw down your controller. You're already mad enough that you had to buy a PlayStation to play it, and then they insulted you.
I mean, let me put it this way: Chrono Cross makes me so mad that if it was a person, anyone seen the Chappelle Show?
Yes.
Anyone
and I can get where this is.
Where Dave Chappelle was getting revenge, and he goes to that comedy club where the guy he's like, I came here to get revenge. I'm gonna burn down your club. He's like, yeah. He's like, well, you don't have to, Dave. I have to say, I'm so sorry for what I said to you. Like, the guy's really contrite. He's like, remember Dave Rizzo? Yeah, he died. He's like, what? No, he's like, he's in a wheelchair. He's paralyzed from the waist down. He's like, I'm in a wheelchair. I'm paralyzed from the waist down. He's like, wow, I didn't know that. This makes this all that much sweeter. And he throws the guy down a flight of stairs. Like, if I was Dave Chappelle in that skit and the guy in the wheelchair was Chrono Cross, yeah, that's how I feel about that.
You be sending him into the incinerator.
No, I just throw it down a flight of steps. Like I hate that game. I'm offended that it exists. And I know some people are gonna be like, "Oh, it's just a game."
Dang.
Yeah, it is just a game, but that still doesn't change the fact that I'm offended that Chrono Cross exists.
I will say this: it's a bit surprising how much of a hate you got for a game, but then again, some of us have that one game that we all hate.
Yeah, everyone has a game that they just hate. Okay, everyone has a game that they're just like, man, I hate this game. I hate the people that made this game. I hate the game that I hate is Final Fantasy is Chrono Cross. Like I just really hate that game. Like if that game were a person, I would pick it up and throw it down a flight of steps. Like, which I already said, because I said if it were in the Dave Chappelle skit, I would throw it down a flight of steps. Which is kind of a terrible thing to do to someone in a wheelchair. But Chrono Cross, fuck that game. Speaking of games we hate, what's a game that you guys hate? Like like you're offended by its very existence.
I believe that there was one that I played on a PC years ago, but I'm trying to remember what.
I got an easy one for you, and this is because I was gifted this, and then I found out that the person that bought it for me, it was only $1 to them. It was Madden 06.
Yeah, they didn't like you.
I think it's a toss-up between either The Last of Us or Final Fantasy VII. I think Final Fantasy VII is etches out The Last of Us a little bit more, just because the fan base of that game is so freaking annoying. It's funny that Final Fantasy VIII finally got re-released. It's like half of these people that played Final Fantasy VII back in the day probably never even picked that game up. Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah,
I have.
yeah.
Didn't the Final Fantasy VII after Final Fantasy VII didn't the sales let's just drop off completely?
Yeah. The highest selling Final Fantasy game is still Final Fantasy. The highest selling Final Fantasy game is still Final Fantasy VII. So I mean, it's like the people who claim the people who claim that they love Final Fantasy, they don't love Final Fantasy. They love Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, and this is from somebody that actually played Final Fantasy VIII and loathed the battle system, but loved the mini game.
Yeah, I don't even like the battle set. I don't even like the mini game. I don't like Final, because for me, a RPG lives or dies by its story and its characters, and I find the story and the characters in Final Fantasy VIII just suck. So
yeah, isn't that like the most hated? Isn't that the black sheep of? Well, I mean,
that's 10, man.
Aside from 13, aside from the recent ones, it's
and
like
13, yeah.
Wasn't that the black sheep of the Final Fantasy games for a while?
No, every time you think this is as bad as it gets, and it couldn't possibly get worse, they release something. Like, I thought Final Fantasy VIII was the bottom of the barrel, but then they released Final Fantasy X-2, and that game is just ass.
See, I think that we need to include another franchise where 3D essentially ruined it. That's Final Fantasy.
Because Final Fantasy X, okay, if you take away Titus, Final Fantasy X is not a bad game. If you take out Titus, it's actually a really good RPG. Titus brings that game down.
I was going to say, Final Fantasy X is not bad. It only has one little mistake.
Titus.
And he's the main focus because Square couldn't handle Yuna.
Yeah, like, and the sad thing is that they made Hironobu Sakaguchi make Titus the main character, because Square Enix felt that they couldn't connect to a. They felt that gamers couldn't connect to a female protagonist, which is bullshit because if you played Final Fantasy VI, the main character of Final Fantasy VI is a female, is Terra. She's the main character of the whole damn game.
Yeah.
I think that's supposedly debatable since there's more than one main protagonist in Final Fantasy VI.
Well, there's a lot of deuterogonists, but really, she is the main character of the game. The game starts with her, the game ends with her. The whole reason that you manage to escape the magical dimensions is that she uses her powers. And when you think she's dead and she manages to make it out, you're like, man, she's alive. That's a big deal. She's the main character of the entire goddamn game, and she's a woman. It's not like, I don't know, and no one was like, man, I don't want to play as this badass female overpowered character, because she gets Esper mode, which just breaks the entire goddamn game. but
I was about to say, Esper mode is a rarity to see come up in the battles.
Yeah, but once you get Esper mode against bosses, it is just cheap as fuck. But you get what I'm saying. It's like no one was like, "Oh man, I can't play as a female character." No one cared. We were just like, yeah, it's Terra." Like I don't know why. I don't know why they're all like, "Oh, we can't have a female character now," because they'd had female characters. You could arguably. Final Fantasy V had multiple protagonists. You could say, well, one of the protagonists was shit. I forgot. Damn, I forgot. You had Lena. You had Bartz, aka Butts. You had Bartz, Lena, Ferris,
Bard,
Gallop, and Gallop's daughter Kara. Granddaughter Kara. But generally speaking, each of those characters is a main character. Because really, Bartz is kind of useless. You could say all those characters are main characters in that game. That's a fair point to make. Lena, Gallop, Ferris. Yes, Ferris.
Yeah, so I don't know. If I were to really get into those games, I'd probably be more interested in playing the 8 and 16-bit games rather than the 3D ones.
Yeah, that's basically how I feel. I'm more. Personally, I prefer Final Fantasy. I prefer the older Final Fantasies over the newer Final Fantasies, just because they just don't really interest me that much. I know some people are going to get angry when they hear that because, people get angry when you say things they don't like. But yeah, I don't like Final Fantasy. I don't like the Final Fantasy as it is right now. I'm not enthralled with it. I don't think it's very good.
The thing about Final Fantasy VII is I do like a lot of the music in that game, and I think they kind of ruined the music in the reboot.
Yeah, but Final Fantasy's always had good music.
The thing is, it's like, you hear little clips of the old music, but I just think it's drowned out by all this artistic license. Because when you hear renditions of Zelda music or the Chrono Trigger music and orchestra, it keeps a lot of the spirit of the original 8 and 16-bit. Or just the original music when they were limited to how much sounds they could use.
Fair enough. But yeah, like I said, I'm kind of over I'm kind of over Final Fantasy. I'm kind of over the modern Final Fantasy. I'm not like, oh my god, this is a great game. I'm like, it's okay.
I was going to say that it went from a sweet series to an okay series to a really series to a facepalm series.
I mean, I'm not gonna go that far. It's just not. I'm not like, oh my god, this is an awesome series. It's like I like it. I like it when it's good, but like when was the last time a Final Fantasy game came out and you felt like this game is really, really good? Like really good. Like it felt like it was back in the day.
Can't think of one.
Yeah.
But you know, it's interesting because you know I played Final Fantasy 6 and 10. Those are I thought Final Fantasy 6 was a more interesting game than 10, just because 10, you know, was, even though that 10 was you know, more recent hardware with better graphics. It's just one of those whole, you know, graphics isn't the usually isn't always the grand decider.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I mean, like I said, I personally prefer Final Fantasy. I mean, I prefer Final Fantasy 7.
6.
I mean, I prefer Final Fantasy 6. Just because I like the gameplay to me is better. The story is more interesting to me.
I like characters I like is I think it's Og, who is able to copy abilities from other monsters, and if you just sit there and farm monsters, you can really power them up to make him.
You mean Gal?
Gal?
Yeah, Gal. Yeah, everyone I talk to hates Gal, but I love him because he is cheap. Like once you get to the World of Ruin and you can get those OP monsters, he becomes he breaks the game. He's almost as bad as Terra.
As our Esper?
Yeah, as Terra's half Esper form. Because basically,
I mean, you still gotta work. I mean, you still gotta farm monsters.
Yeah, he's uncontrollable. That's the downside. But like I'll tell you what's broken, right? You take Terra and you give her two of the best swords in the game, the Atma sword and like Excalibur, and then you have her learn dual wield and X fight, and then you basically give her those two swords, and then you basically just have her go into Esper mode and then just slice and dice the shit out of a boss after you've cast the offensive up magics against her and haste. Oh god,
that's the best part about this game. Being able to
that.
Or my personal favorite, have your party of 4 characters cast reflect on themselves and then cast their ultimately powerful magic attacks on themselves, so that they bounce all 4 of them, so they bounce off your characters and then hit the enemy, but then you have all of them cast the magic on themselves and hit the enemy on a magic that they're weak against. Oh. Ungodly broke.
You might have a problem in your pants if you were having such a joygasm with thinking about that.
I like breaking RPGs. Like I love the concept.
I know.
I love the concept.
That's the thing. I know you love it, but I was saying that it sounded like you were close to orgasm, talking about how good that you broke the game.
Well, it's kind of close in the beginning. I mean, like, let me put it this way. Every RPG I figured out how to break just makes me happy because it basically encourages you to learn how to play RPGs properly.
No, when you find an exploit in an RPG, it's a good day.
And apparently it's taking off some RPG players because they want their RPGs to be more balanced and no shortcuts.
Hey man, that's your job. Look, listen. Every RPG that's come out since like the 16-bit generation, they've tried to make it balanced. But at a certain point, you're like the gamers are gonna figure out ways to break it. That's just, you know. And to be honest with you, I really don't want to play an RPG that's completely balanced, because that's the point of an RPG, is that eventually you're gonna get good enough to the point where you know what to do. You know how to take it.
Well, that's half the fun, being able to break an RPG. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, even if you aren't trying to break it, you're eventually going to get powerful enough to where you can kick everything's ass. That's the whole point. Like Earthbound, even like in the beginning of Earthbound, you are weak. Like you're fighting birds. Like the first time you fight an ant, you're like, Jesus, these ants are tough. You start leveling up. It's like you're kicking these ants' ass. And then if you go back to that area, everything's running away from you because like, shit, you kicked my ass. I ain't fighting. And that's part of the enjoyment. Like the only RPG that has a completely different power creep is Breath of Fire for the SNES, the first one. Because basically in the beginning of the game, every enemy is like a struggle. It's like a titanic battle. But at the end of the game, you're unstoppable. You are just one-shotting everything at the end of the game. It is ridiculous.
I was about to say, you go from being prey to being the lawnmower.
The Dragon
right?
Ball Z of RPGs, the power creep.
Basically, yeah. Weister20 has a comment. Why did they have Stand By Me in Final Fantasy 15? I don't know. When I play, like, here's the thing. Final Fantasy 15 didn't even feel like a Final Fantasy game to me. It felt like a
cash grab.
Well, no, it didn't feel like an RPG. It didn't feel like a Final Fantasy game. Like I've played enough Final Fantasy games to know a Final. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know how to really like explain it in the best way, but it didn't feel like an RPG to me. You know.
That game was rushed.
Yeah.
It was like, how many times? It was scrapped twice. They went over budget twice.
Yeah, they had to keep on redoing everything because basically the game just was not, because they kept on fucking up, really.
I had to rewrite the story, I'm sure, so that's why it doesn't make any damn sense half the
Well,
time.
no, if you don't understand the story, it's because you didn't realize that you have to watch the movies that it's based off of in order to understand the full story. Which, I mean, the way I feel about it is if I have to watch a movie in order to get the full story of a game, your game sucks.
Then you have a problem with your story and your game.
Like the only time you should write a book about a video game RPG is if your RPG world is really in depth. Like if EA wanted to do books about Mass Effect, it would make sense because Mass Effect is a huge world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's a huge interconnected world. There's a lot of shit going on that's like connected to each other. Final Fantasy does not have that issue. Like Final Fantasy is like, no.
Yeah, it's a pretty well contained, self-contained product on its own.
Like each Final Fantasy is its own thing, and it should be its own thing. You know, it shouldn't be like this interconnected thing. You know. But hey, I could be wrong. You know. See, anyone have any other games that they're offended by their existence?
Too many. Well, the first new Super Mario Bros. Game was all right on the DS. It was an interesting concept, but then after that, it started to become soulless and empty.
I personally say the gun games when they got so saturated that it took over mostly every part of the gaming world.
I mean, actually, I understand that. Like, I personally prefer. I personally like the
FPS.
Yeah, I mean, I like first person. I mean, I like first-person shooters. I just think the problem with first-person shooters is that people just don't like. There aren't enough of like. No one evolves the formula, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, there's not a lot of first
games these days are look and feel the same, being the modern military shooters.
Yeah, no one wants to evolve the formula, which is what bothers me about first-person shooters. No one wants to do anything different or new. It's the same shit over and over again.
Yeah. Well, I like Doom Eternal because it's not trying to be realistic or anything. It's it's one of those games that's proud of being a video game.
Yeah. I mean, that's the reason I like Saints Row, because it's like, yeah, it's a video game. It's like, why is this happening? Don't ask questions. It's a video game.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I like. I'm like, not every game has to be this. I mean, that's where for me personally, that's where GTA kind of fucked up, is that GTA is always trying too damn hard to be this deep, epic art. Like, they're like, we're trying to tell stories. I don't give a shit. Look, man, I just want to play a game where I go around listening to some good music, doing some missions, maybe has kind of has some humorous side missions to it. You know, maybe gamble a bit, you know, visit a prostitute or two in the game. That's it. I don't want all this like
until GTA, until GTA just stops taking itself so seriously. And
well, they had to take itself seriously in order to appease the game theorist channels who question why such illogical gaming event happened. Now it's how it doesn't work in real life.
No, man.
They don't have to take themselves
because it's not supposed to make sense. It's one of those things where this is not supposed to make sense, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with shit not making sense, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't have to make sense to be entertaining, because that's the end goal at the end of the day.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's supposed to be fun. Like, a game is supposed to be, if you aren't having fun with a game, that's why GTA 4 failed, because they tried way too fucking hard to make it serious.
That game aged very poorly.
It wasn't good when it came out. Not the age poorly. It wasn't good when it came out. Shit.
Yeah, I had fun with it for a while when it came out, and then I lost interest in it. And then just, at least to me, it aged really bad.
I mean, which is kind of sad, because while GTA 4 sucks, it has one expansion that's fucking awesome.
Oh,
and that's the Ballad of Gay Tony. Yeah, the Ballad of Gay Tony is awesome, because the Ballad of Gay Tony feels like a proper GTA game with the sense of humor and the wacky missions and interesting characters. Too bad the rest of the main game isn't like that. the main game's like, I hate these people.
Yeah, I heard 5 isn't particularly that great either.
I mean, 5 isn't bad. It's just 5, like, all the effort that should have went into making 5 good, and the extra content that should have been like expansions and extra shit. Instead of doing that, they basically just put all their energy into GTA Online.
Yeah,
and you can tell.
I talked to so many people at work that love GTA Online. Go home and play it every night. Like, well, I guess everybody has to have their.
Well, I mean, I'm not getting mad at people because they like something. I'm just saying that, like, okay, like for me, here's my problem with GTA 5, right? GTA 5 takes place in the same place as San Andreas, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So why are entire areas missing from the game? Like, entire fucking areas. Like, there's no Green County. There's no Las Venturas. There's no San Fierro. They just now added a casino for the online mode. Even though all this shit, like, you can't tell me that they couldn't add that shit in the 3D game. You know what I mean? I mean, in the next game. It's like, there's all this content that should be there that's not there because they put all their energy into the online. So,
because it was originally developed for the PS3 and Xbox 360, and they just Or like you said, they just put all their development into the online.
Yeah, which doesn't bother me, but I mean, it bothers me because it's like this is supposed to be the same place, and there's entire areas that are missing. That bothers me. And I know some people are going to be like, "Well, come on, man." It would. I mean, here's the equivalent. Okay, it would be the equivalent of when Mario goes to Princess Peach's castle in Mario Odyssey. Mario Odyssey, and it didn't look like what you had in Mario 64. Like there were entire areas missing. That would be a problem,
Yeah.
And that's basically what's going on with San Andreas. It's like there's entire areas missing, which bothers me a little bit,
Hey guys, I think I'm gonna head out. So
All right.
And talk to you. I'll talk to you guys later. Hope you guys have a good night. It's Kanoshi about me. So glad to be on Buster. So have a good night, everybody. Later.
All right. So with all that being said, anyone have anything they want to mention for the end of the podcast?
Well, I do want to continue on with the more outrage regarding other games, and there is one, but it's taking place in Japan. Have you guys heard about the Atelier series by Koei Tecmo?
You mean the Atelier series?
Yeah.
I'm familiar with it.
Well, because the upcoming new installment for it that's coming out later this year in Japan, it's gotten a lot of attention from Japanese gamers in regards to its main female protagonists looking more sexualized than previous main female protagonists.
I don't know why they're surprised now. They've been making their female protagonists in the Atelier series more and more
eye-catching,
more and more sexually not like.
Well, the thing is, the series is largely designed for a younger audience, which is the gamer, and the majority of the audience are female.
They've been making the female characters more and more kind of skimpy for years now. Because I used to play the Atelier series before they started making it. How can I put this? Cater towards a younger female demographic. And it didn't used to look like that. Like they okay, back in the day, Atelier games used to have like a male and female protagonist. So if you wanted to play as a female character, you could. And they each had their own thing. Like the female characters were Atelier, so they had like an alchemy shop. And the male character was your more traditional, have a sword, go out, get ingredients, and bring it to the shop, like that type of thing. And then like when the Atelier series jumped to the PS2 gen, to the 6th gen, they began to the PS3 gen, they basically began to go for the more younger female moe main character demographic, and I couldn't deal with it. I was like, I can't deal with these characters. It's too much.
Japanese fans are split on whether or not the new female character's design is too sexy by the game standards because of her thick thighs, while also criticizing the official website's bio of her contradicting said appearance. According to the official website, she's described to have no characteristics and acts rather boyish, despite looking sexualized. But
but that's in a lot of JRPGs. They'll have female characters who are supposed to be kind of tomboyish, and they're like that. So, I'm not happy about it. I'm just saying that's what's been going on for years. So I don't know why people are surprised now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's only the complaint is only limited in Japan right now, not everywhere else.
That could be the case. I'm just saying it's been like that for years. I don't know why people are surprised now. Like, I can't believe this shit. And I'm like, I'm not surprised. Shit. So, that being said, anyone have anything they want to pimp out before we wrap things up?
I do have one more thing to say.
All right.
There is an article showing the most popular anime series by state.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll link it to the group chat box right now.
So, if anything, I looked already in a sense, and funny enough, my younger nephews, they apparently have the same thing in a sense. They like Naruto.
And
the state that Naruto is like.
And according to the article, my home state's favorite anime is Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Apparently, where I live, they like Full Metal Alchemist. And apparently, where you are, it's Naruto. So.
Yeah.
So basically, a lot of shonen anime in here.
So there's one anime. I think there's another one out.
Yuri on Ice.
Yes.
Well, technically speaking, Yuri on Ice is no. Yeah. Yuri on Ice is technically shonen. It's just a whole bunch of shonen who like other shonen.
No, actually, Yuri on Ice is a sports anime featuring a gay couple.
Yeah, I know. It's shonen who like shonen. Shonen is boy.
Shonen is usually associated with action anime though.
Not really. Shonen just literally translates to boys anime. So there's like boys anime typically has young boys as the main character. So like if it has like young boys as the main characters, then it's a shonen. Then there's like subsets of shonen. There's the Superboy shonen, which is shit like Dragon Ball Z. Then there's like the shonen that's like where you've got like mystery shonen where they don't have superpowers. There's different types of shonen. I mean, I'm not enthralled with shonen. I'm just saying that, I'm not enthralled with shonen.
There's another anime that's a one-man out that isn't a shonen. Your Name.
What?
Your Name, which is the anime movie.
I guess, man. I don't know. I don't play stuff like that. I mean, I don't watch stuff like that. I used to be really into anime, and like nowadays when I do watch anime, I watch like old school stuff. So like I'll watch like Mr. Achiko, stuff like that. But anyway, anyone have anything else they want to say?
I think I'm set.
Okay, I guess it's time to wrap things up. So pimp out what you want to pimp out, and we'll wrap things up. Anyone have anything they want to pimp out?
Yes. This week I posted an article of me predicting the final 2 DLC fighters for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate of their fighters.
You're reaching high, thanks.
I made a list of possible candidates from different third-party companies, and I picked only 2 of them. My 2 choices are a Namco character and a Bethesda character. And if and in case that we don't get a Namco character, a new Namco character, then I'm going to be predicting an SNK character as a backup. pick.
I mean, that could happen. Conceivably. Possibly. Perhaps. So, Jewel, you have nothing to pimp out. I guess I'll pimp something out. I had a video come out this today talking about EA, Sega, CTR, Crash Team Racing. I'm not enthralled with that game. I might get it on PC when it comes out, but I'm not going to spend full price to get it. I'll probably wait for it to go on sale because I'm a cheap bastard. And anyone who knows me knows I'm a cheap bastard. So with that being said, that's what I had to say. So remember, rate, comment, share, subscribe. I will try very hard to give you guys a BS After Dark sometime in the near future. So look forward to that. And with that being said, remember, rate, comment, share, subscribe. You can reach me on reach me on Gmail at mrredfoxbsbuster@gmail.com or at Twitter at Matthew Wesley at mrredfox91. Remember, Weister has a comment. He says mine is Kill a Kill. Well, man, yeah, Kill a Kill. I'm not really that enthralled with it, but I know some people like it, so God bless them. Thank you for watching. Remember, rate, comment, share, subscribe. This channel, believe it or not, is growing. We have had some new subscribers, so we want to keep the upward momentum. So remember, rate, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun shit, and good night.
And hype responsibly.
And to hell with EA.